go somewhere else and notice, what do you do to get there? So it could be another spot on the floor. Could be, oh, you forgot your notebook. Could be you want a drink. Could be as simple as changing your position from where you are. But what are you actually doing to do what you're doing?
She nicked your roller. No, we just stay together. That's kind of what we do.
Shadow, my shadow. So what did you do? Okay, so you had an intention and then you organised yourself. Right. What did the organisation of yourself involve? So shifting your limbs, shifting your weight, pressure, moving, changing your pressure on the ground. Orientating your eyes. If it's just a single, it's easier to repeat it, yeah. Orientating your eyes to where you wanted to go. Visualising where you want to go.
Thinking about how I was going to move so I could stand up.
Mm-hmm.
And where my head went, where my feet went.
And when you thought about how you were going to move, yep. It was where you were going to put your feet.
Where I'm going to put my feet, how I'm going to put them down, where I'm going to shift my weight so I can actually stand up first.
Mm-hmm.
There's this whole social, cultural element that goes on. There's the observation of unspoken cultural tenets about mat real estate.
There is. There certainly is.
See, many people aren't sitting on mats because they're other people's houses.
Actually, it's a very good insight to bring out into the open, overtly. Yeah. Okay, so the unspoken rules that are perhaps governing where you go, where you're allowed.
Which I've actually broken, but only with my neighbour, so there's already a level of familiarity there. So.
Uh-huh. Okay. Do you want to grab the microphone?
Bump into each other.
Interact with your people in the environment on the way. Yep.
I was intending to get here, but then on the way I had to just make it short. So I was just simply like thinking I was going to go here, so it just appealed to me. But then on the way I had 2 moments where I was like, oh, this would be possible too. I could just stop here. And I had to just think about it again.
Okay, so there was a pause.
Continue. There was a pause. There was
Thoughts
another option
and
open, and I was like, oh, maybe this is...
Great. Okay. Anyone else want to say something? Is that enough for now? You have an awareness of what other people said. So we can talk about movement in many different ways. And you may have already heard through your reading or ATMs or Julie in the other 2 segments, that another way that Moshe talks about action is that you can describe it as having 3 components that are, anyone know them? Okay, maybe you haven't. Pardon? Intention. That's the foremost. Yeah, but 3 other components. Orientation, timing, and organisation. So these are, I love this. I have to just clean one off. Have you taken photos of both, Jenny? Okay. Yeah? You've got the notes from it? Great. Okay. So, for example, if I want to, my intention, I'm thirsty, I have a need, and I want to get my drink. So my intention is to have a drink. But if I'm busy talking over here, then I may not accurately be able to grasp my cup. Yes? I might miss where my cup is, or I might actually accidentally knock it over. So there's the orientation in the world to the action that we're doing. And then there's a certain timing. If I close my hand too quickly, or before I have conformed my hand in a way that's actually going to enable me to lift the cup with the amount of liquid in it, then I might either drop it if it's heavier than expected, or I might hold it in a way which doesn't allow for the shape of the cup or what's the weight of the cup. So there's a sort of timing, not a sort of, there is a timing. And then the organisation is he says manipulation. Moshe uses the word manipulation, but we think of manipulating things in the environment. And different people will talk about this in different ways. So manipulation is often referred to as something that we're doing in the environment. I manipulate this pen. But I can actually, through my intention, manipulate the way I'm organising myself in order to do the action that I'm about to do. So that's where it can be understood as self-organisation. So if I want to reach the cup over there, I need to, and I keep myself here, I need to lengthen my arm, unbend my elbow. It's a little far, so maybe I need to move my weight on my pelvis, and then something happens through my torso. I shift my weight on my pelvis. Oh, something's happening in my ribs, and I can turn and look at the cup, and then hopefully I've got the right timing to come to my mouth, which in the morning, sometimes, it's just not quite there yet. To think, oh, mouth, Stephanie, mouth. So, a lot of these aspects your attention is guided to in ATM. So then we've got timing, and I'm just recalling Ruth's beautiful writing and changing my style. We'll try organisation. And we get lots of feedback, as Jenny was talking about yesterday, about the sensations that we can perceive. So when we're in an ATM, part of the feedback about understanding what we're doing comes from the environment. But there are things that we can perceive. So there are things, I've gone squiggly again, perceivables, that's probably an extra E in there. There are things that we can perceive, we can sense, we can feel, we can see, and sometimes we can hear using our senses, both in ourselves and in somebody else. And I've been delighted to see you engaging with each other after the ATMs to look at how did you do that? What's going on? And observing each other. So now we'll do a little process in groups of 3 using one of the variations from the last ATM and just see what does that show up for you? What can you observe in how someone does a movement that gives you information about timing factors, timing aspects of movement, or the orientational aspects of movement, of how they're moving, or the self-organisational aspects? Each of us will have preferences in what we see, what we sought for. So different movements can show up different aspects, and we're going to continue this process over the 2 weeks. So this is just like a first approximation to see what you come up with. So could you get together with 2 other people that you haven't worked with yet? So that's a group of 3. So it's a parting of the shadow, maybe.
It's never.
So, I'm going to come over here for a moment. So please keep paying attention for a moment. As you're organising yourself, you can still open your ears. I'm going to join this group and we'll just give you an idea of what you're going to do. Could one of you lie on your back? And you two, Jenny and Ginny, you can come here with me. Could you bend your knees, please, Judy? And cross your left leg over your right leg. Now, even in that action, there's a lot of organisation required. So perhaps we'll ask her to do that action several times. Have we got a piece of paper with us? Please. Please keep your knees bent, Judy. Yeah. And cross your left leg over your right. Pardon?
Do you want paper or just draft?
Just pretending. Just give me your book, please. Trust me. Trust me. Yes, that's right. Okay, so anything that you notice about how she's organised herself on the floor that could be categorised as a specific aspect of movement or a position, or what do you see there, Jenny? So I'm noticing that her feet are in a certain relationship to her pelvis. So how could we describe that? Because there's probably 20 different positions she could have put her feet in, isn't there? How could we describe that?
It is under the right side.
Uh-huh.
That's what you mean.
Well, that's one thing. So that your feet, Judy's feet, are a little more to the right of her central line. Okay, so to the right. That's got a direction, hasn't it? So we could say what? Anything? Any ideas about how you could describe that? Orientation? Well, depends how you think about orientation. So orientation always has a relationship, it's a sense of direction, to space. And it can be internal orientation of the parts that make up our skeleton, or it can be an external orientation towards the room. So maybe we'll just do something else and see what comes up. Could you begin to tilt your knees to the left, Judy, and come back? So the 2 people that are observing are going to confer, thinking of, first of all, what they're noticing, talking to one another about what it is they notice, and then in relationship to this way of describing action or as looking at someone's movement, can you think of it, does it have anything to do with timing or anything to do with, can you see anything that might be related to orientation or anything that might be related to how she's organising herself to do it? Can you go again, please? So anyone want to like to make a comment?
In terms of timing, it looks as though her pelvis moves before. Where does that start? What timing starts?
So a pelvis moves first.
Yeah, instead of the knees moving.
So to begin with, you could just write down pelvis moves first.
Yep.
All right? Anything else?
The movement's channeling through the length of her spine.
Movement channeling through the length of her spine. So, pardon?
Sorry, I was just asking, is that organisation?
And so this, I'm not going to answer that question yet. Because you're all going to have different ideas about which, if it fits in one of those categories or another. So, channeling. Channeling. I'm not sure. What do you mean, Simon, channeling?
There's perceivable movement along the length of her spine, terminating at her head, which is moving in the opposite direction to her pelvis.
Okay, so there's several things in there. So we could say movement along her spine, connected to the head. And then, so that's the sort of the first layer of this, okay? And you're each going to lie down and see what you notice, because you'll notice different things on different people. So 2 conferring, 1 doing the movement, thinking about what you see first, and just perhaps spend 5 minutes. What are you seeing? And speak it out loud. Then you could also ask Judy what she feels, what she's sensing, and then see if you can relate a little bit to, is that timing? Is that connected to timing? Or is that connected to organisation within? Or does that have something to do with orientation? See what you come up with.
So we're clarifying what those things mean by looking at a person.
That's something that can happen, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I don't know.
Well, they'll emerge, thank you.
Particular movement.
This one. Start with this one. Because I think if you stay in a comfortable range, it's something you can keep doing many times. Beg your pardon? No, 1 person at a time. 2 observing.